an equally important thing is just to be involved in something that you're passionate about that's going to help people in your neck of the woods. And whether that's your local cancer center, your local community organization, these are all things that, especially on the cancer side, there's so many ways to help people, whether it's contributing to research, whether it's helping with awareness and education, or whether it's just really trying to support people who may need a little extra assistance getting to and from doctor's visits and things like that. We've had people start some incredible things in their neck of the woods.
Awesome. And since Crystal, you'll be participating, they can help you, right?
Yeah. I'm on Terry Grieg's team, so it's powered by Hope, and people can join. And I'll be posting my link to let people know how they can fundraise. And I'll be out there doing one of the rides. We'll see if I do the 50 miles. That's what I have in my head, but. We'll see. It's April. We'll see how I feel about that as we get closer to September.
Yeah. And I've worked closely with a family here that started a nonprofit to raise both money for research, but also awareness for melanoma. It's called Our Mark on Melanoma, or Our Mom. It's a group of kids, 8 siblings whose mom passed away of melanoma, and they've been very involved. So that's the team that I'm my captain, and it's been an honor to work with them. So they do everything from trying to teach kids about the horrible side of canning beds and skin cancer risk at the kind of more teenage years, and then all through trying to raise money for research. So,
that's wonderful. Wonderful that they do that. So,
absolutely.
And thank you for being so involved. Thank you for taking the time to do this and teaching us so much about what you do every day and just how the whole process works. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. No, thank you guys for having me, and look forward to hopefully seeing you at Pedal this year and being involved. It was great to connect.
Thank you.
It's more than just your output, more than a bike. When you hear your shout out, you know it's all right. Put on your magic pants and let's go. We're cruising into the power zone. Clip in, set yourself free. Come on and take a ride with me. You know what you need to know and what's it all about. Everything you need, it's on the Clip Out.
Welcome to the Clip Out Podcast, episode 260. This is Crystal O'Keefe.
And this is Tom O'Keefe. Hello.
Hi.
So you had your big Olive and June slumber party.
Manny Masterclass.
There we go.
Not a slumber party.
Well, I like to think of it as a slumber party. It's like girls all hanging out, doing their nails.
Look, my nails are done.
Look, it's still sticking around.
Yeah, because Olive and June lasts a really long time. That's why I love them.
We didn't even practice that. People are like, oh, Jesus.
It's not an ad when you truly love them, guys.
Yeah. But you hang on. We have a screenshot of your slumber party.
Yeah, this was at the very end. A bunch of people had already hung up, so we didn't get everybody's nails. But yeah, everybody showed the different colors they did at home. And the lady in the upper left-hand corner's name was Sarah. She was the one from Olive and June who was actually doing her nails. And she used Larchmont, which was perfect because it was the same shade as the Peloton logo. Yes, that was on purpose.
Good to know.
Yep, and it's not an ad, but if you wanted to get your own Olive and June, you can absolutely do that at oliveandjune.com/TCO. 20% off, I do believe.
Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
So what else are we supposed to talk about here?
We're supposed to talk about this weekend.
Oh, yeah. You're going to L.A.
I am. It's a little sneaky jaunt off to L.A. I'm going by myself. Sans Tom. I can't even remember the last time I traveled without you.
It would have been like for work.
Yeah. So that would have been like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'm going to L.A. and the You Get To crew is doing a meetup. Carissa Bodner from... You might recognize that name. She is the owner, creator of Thrive Cosmetics, and she put together a You Get To crew meetup in LA. So I am totally stoked about that. Also, there's a few other people that I'm getting to see, and I'm very excited. Pictures will be coming.
So that's an excuse to follow you on the Instagram.
Yeah, if you want to see my surprise visits.
Yeah. We should also talk real quick while we're just doing some house cleaning stuff about the meetup we're having in St. Louis.
Yeah,
on
in
October 15th.
Yes.
Yeah, we still have tickets for that. If you want to go to the Yacht Rock concert, that
can sit in the suite, food and drink,
a fancy suite, or as fancy as the family arena gets. But
St. Charles, Missouri. Let's
right,
not get crazy.
So check your expectations.
But it is very nice.
Yeah.
It is very nice.
And we should say that there's been a lineup change.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
So Pablo Cruz has dropped off the bill. But what that means is instead we've replaced Pablo Cruz with 2 acts. So now you get the Babies.
What's their song?
So Every Time I Think of You, Midnight Rendezvous. They had.
I know these songs.
Yeah,
I just don't know
the
these
Babies
songs.
had a lot of hits. And then you also get John Ford Coley from England Dan and John Ford Coley. So that's like
all your Dan Seals stuff.
Really Love to See You Tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm Not Talking About Moving In, that song.
Yeah.
Goodbye Girl. I think that's one of theirs. And
not to mention, we're going to just do other fun things.
Yeah,
so
totally.
if you want to come and you don't want to go to the concert, let us know that too, because we'll have like a separate list for those people.
Yeah.
And we would love to see you in either way. So.
Totally. So if you want more information about that, you can go to the Clip Out group and check events, and it has all the stuff. And but yeah, we lost Pablo Cruz, but we swapped out a band with like 2.5 hits for 2 artists that have about 8 or 10 hits. So we thickened it up.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna be fun.
There you go. So now that we've done all that, what, pray tell, do you have in store for people this week?
Oh my gosh, I have no idea. Let me see. What do I have?
Sorry, I thought you knew I'd be asking this. There's been 260 of these.
So I think that there's my list. Here we go. Well, John Mills is joining us, and we're going to be talking about competitor stuff. There's like this new device that connects to your TV, so we got to talk about that.
That's not the guide.
Not the guide. It has nothing to do with Peloton. And Echelon's up to something, so we got to talk about that.
Okay.
And then there is a ton of instructor news. So many things we got to hit. Not to mention just Peloton news. We got to talk about all that.
Okay.
So,
well, before we get to all that, shameless plugs, don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you find a podcast, you can find us. While you're there, be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave a review if you would be so kind. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/theclipout. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/theclipout, where you can watch all of these episodes. And if you want to get all the articles and stuff we mentioned sent to you in one easy-to-use digest, sign up for our newsletter at theclipout.com, which comes out weekly, typically on Sundays. And it'll just have all the links in there for you so you don't have to go hunting for them. So there's all that. Let's dig in, shall we?
let's do it.
Run, lift, and live with John Mills.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's John Mills from Run, Lift, Live. Hey, John, how's it going?
Hi.
How's it going? It's happening.
I love the energy. Although, John, I am a little disappointed in you. A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Uh-oh.
I don't see a Grandpa Shark shirt. I'm just
I
saying.
know. The Grandpa Shark shirt. I would have had to run upstairs. And I have, Erica throws all my stuff in this little study downstairs next to my office. And so rather than run upstairs, I just.
No, it's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay.
The streak has ended.
That streak has ended.
Oh, no. That's okay.
Oh,
the important thing is you are here and you brought your energy. So those are the important characteristics that we require. You and your energy.
Okay. All right. And then we're good then. Right.
We are.
Well, I guess let's start with I guess we'll cover a couple stories that you pointed out this week. The first is about a new device called Atlis,
I think.
Yeah, Altis is a company that's based in Florida, I guess, and Miami. And I guess one of the folks that are in my group happened to be watching their local news, and the local news was doing a story on this product by this company out of that area. And it's a company called Altis. I guess they've been creating this product for a couple years. But what was interesting about it is kind of sounds like the guide.
Yeah,
It's
it
a
does.
device that sits on your TV and it reflects your image on the screen next to, instead of an instructor, it's like a computer generated image of a person reflecting what you're doing. And it just allows you to monitor your form, and it gives you form feedback. That being the difference from the guide. It actually is saying things that tell you, lift your arms and go deeper in that squat or what have you. And so it has the computer vision, the form feedback, and it's doing the rep counting, and then it's creating like programs. It starts to create programs based on your level of progression. So it tells you what you should be doing, what you should work on next. And so it sounded like a guide with some extra bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And by some, you mean a whole bunch.
By some, I mean a lot.
It's interesting because when I see the pictures, it really reminds me of the Kinect back in the day that was on the Xbox, because they had all these fitness games that you could do when the Kinect first came out, and they would have
the Wii.
Yeah, absolutely. But the Kinect in particular, the reason I say that it reminds me of that is because when you would do a move and you weren't lined up correctly, it could see your joints and it would tell you like, here's where you're off. And so that's why I've been saying for a long time now that a lot of the cameras, I feel like they're just so reminiscent of Kinect. Now, I do think that Altis is taking it a step further and saying, you can now, based on what you're doing, we can indicate what classes you should be taking. I don't feel like anybody has successfully done that with the camera feedback yet. So I think that's something different. So it will be interesting to see, especially because this isn't out widely yet. So I just feel like this is like the worst time to be putting something like this out on the market.
It's such a crowded space.
Right?
It is.
Yeah, that's what I thought as well. But it's like a lot of these players had been working on products when it wasn't a bad time. And so now
it was a good time.
It takes years to develop a product like this. So it's not like they started it 6 months ago and they should have known better.
Right.
It's at the time they were like, we're going to break new ground, and then it was like, oh, well, crap.
Right. They've been working on this for a couple years, and they're just now at the point where they could start taking orders right at this point when this space is all saturated. But so what they're trying to do, similarly to another product that I can't remember the name of. It was a guy that came into my clubhouse, and he was from Australia, and they've got a whole new strength training product as well that they're about to drop, that they've been working on for years. But they're trying to go B2B. This company, Altis, they're trying to appeal to like not just the consumer, but also to like hotels. They want this in hotel rooms all over the place. So they announced it at like a Hyatt, and now they're trying to work a deal with Hyatt hotels.
I do think that's smart. I do think that is something that I feel like a lot of people, when they're traveling, want to have access to. I know
and like we talked about before, more and more people, they don't want to go to the gym, even if it's the hotel gym in the same building. I think they're just getting used to working out at home. So having an option baked into your hotel room.
But then that does beg the question, if it's in your hotel room, okay, well, if it's in the room you're in, then now you got to store weights or something, or, figure out a way to do that. So I'm not sure how that would work, because I don't know if you guys know this, but people are not known for being respectful whenever they go to hotel rooms. So I just putting that out there.
Yeah. I wonder if, maybe the hotels do a thing where they bring weights to your room if you decide to use it, or you check them out with the driver's license or something like that. I do feel like hotels are maybe trying to move towards phasing out their gyms, right? Like that's a space that doesn't really generate revenue. And so if they can flip that square footage into something that generates revenue, a restaurant or a banquet room, having the ability to work out in your room, that could easily offset the investment of putting a device like this in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Especially on the more upscale hotels. They could even, have like, well, every room gets an Atlas or Altis or a guide, but then for $40 a night more, we put a Peloton in your room.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe.
You know what was? I remember one year in we were going to homecoming, Erica and I.
Mhm.
It may have been the last one we went to. I don't remember, but we stayed at a hotel that Peloton suggested. It was one of their.
Right.
It was
primary
that one up
hotels.
the street because it had Peloton all over we stayed there
branded
too, and it was
Peloton,
branded
yeah.
Peloton when you walked in. Everything was Peloton all over it.
Yeah, and in our room there was, I don't know what the device was, but there was some device in our room for getting a workout in. It had a screen, and you were supposed to follow along, but I don't remember what it was. But I remember thinking when I saw it, I didn't know the maker, I didn't know who the company was, and I remember thinking, I don't want to work out in the room.
Really?
I'd rather go down to the gym.
Interesting.
Now, I remember I didn't even try it. It looked cool, looked pretty neat, but my mind was just like, the gym's down there and there's Pelotons down there, so never mind. I'll just go down there.
Yeah.
Right.
I get that, especially if you're at a Peloton event and there's a Peloton down there.
Yeah.
But
Right.
If you would have been able to get a Peloton in your room, would that have changed anything?
That would have changed things. So
Okay.
you're right. It may have just been specifically because I was a Peloton fan and I just wanted to do Peloton content. And that content just didn't appeal to me. It just kind of looked generic. I remember thinking that the trainer looked generic. The work stuff they were doing looked generic. I was just like, nah.
Yeah, and obviously a lot of hotels, especially in a big city like New York or San Francisco, those rooms might not have the footprint to put a Peloton in. So
yeah, that's
but we
true
talked
too.
a couple weeks ago, maybe it was last week, about a hotel that was doing it where they had set aside rooms with Pelotons and you could rent for like $25 an hour. And so
you would stay in your room, but then they had these other rooms blocked off, and then you would use it, and then it would be like a personal room for an hour, and then it would get cleaned in between the next one. So you would have your own space to work out, but it would be a room that's just for you. So I really liked that. I felt like that was a really good,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Like I said, it just makes me wonder if gyms are
starting to
get phased out of hotels in favor of something like this, especially when you figure that square footage in some hotels is going to be at such a premium. Giving up 3 or 4 hotel rooms to put in a restaurant or whatever.
That's a really good
that
point.
can generate revenue.
Yeah.
Unlike a gym. I mean, a gym's a perk, and people might choose a hotel based on the quality of the gym.
But it doesn't bring in new revenue in the same way.
Totally, especially if you're like, oh, we can bring it right to your room, the thing you've probably been doing at home anyway. Yeah.
Right. And we could charge you
an
additional fee?
Yeah.
And now instead of the gym being this free thing you have access to, the gym quote unquote concept is generating revenue, and what used to be the gym can generate revenue. I think you will always have some places that don't do that, but I definitely see that happening in more and more places, just based on what this type of thing that we're seeing.
Right.
So I definitely think that's going to be happening. So interesting stuff.
When I was looking at this thing, I'm thinking, if this thing kind of catches, it was kind of like when Tempo Move came out.
Yeah.
And we thought, and I don't think the guide was out yet, and we were like, ain't that just like the guide, kind of?
Right.
And then the guide drops, and now this thing drops. To me, it kind of just shines a brighter light on capabilities of the guide. You know what I mean? It's like you start to wonder, when will those capabilities make it to the guide? Why aren't they there?
And why
now?
aren't they? Yeah.
Right.
Well, then, honestly, when we were talking about this and I'm watching the B-roll and the news story play, my thought was, do you think these people really want to sell these things, or was this only ever built to be acquired? Right? Like we've created this technology and we figured out how to do this, and you could buy us and be done. Right. And then bake us into what you're already producing. We've already coded it.
Right. That's a good point. Somebody in my group was like, it's a similar thing. Like, I wonder if they're going to be acquired.
Yeah.
And I thought the irony would be if, like, iFit acquires them.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if like Peloton might look at it and go, these are things we're trying to do and we haven't gotten there yet. And instead of spending all this, these labor hours to try to get there, like
Right.
we could just buy this and be like, okay,
And we done.
port it in and pull it and make it done. On the flip side, if you're iFit and you want to, and you feel like you should have a guide equivalent,
Right.
one check and you're there.
And you're there. Right.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And then also you found a story about Full Sail University, which I've never.
I don't know
heard
who
of.
they are.
Yeah.
I never heard of that.
Okay.
But
You tell. I gotta give you guys a statistic that May posted. May Serkoff, May on the leaderboard.
Uh-huh.
She she's in the industry where she helps people get placed in colleges and things like that, so she's
right.
really in the know about the university world, and so she quickly looked up this some stats about Full Sail University.
Right.
Well, this should be fascinating.
And I don't remember all of what she said. It's down there in the comments of this particular article, Tom, if you want to pull it up. But what I do remember that stuck out to me, the graduation rate, 29%. 29%. How is that? Like, I have never heard of that being a university. Oh, I don't see her message.
Yeah, she eventually removed it, and only because I was challenging the context of that. But and she kind of removed it. But good point. So Echelon partners with them with the idea that Echelon's going to fund this lab, and so then there'll be this equipment, and then the students there can use that to then, as part of their projects. They're learning technology, and then Echelon benefits because they might get some innovative thoughts out of what these students are doing for free, right? So that was kind of the context.
Yeah.
And so that idea is what I was posting. I thought that's pretty neat, right? They shell a little bit of money out. The university has some kids there that might give you some ideas. On top of that, they might become like vested in your company. And now you got young minds that now in the future, they're sticking to Echelon and might get other people to come to Echelon because they started in college.
Yeah.
So I just thought it was kind of a pretty neat concept. But then of course, May brought up that whole, the fact that Chris was talking about that. Well, I don't know how good is this university? Their graduation rate is so low, and they're not only in person, but they're also online. It's like 50-50 online, in person.
Right.
So there's questions about their viability as a university. Right?
Yeah.
So that's,
and I guess that could be a tough metric to judge something by too, because some schools aren't designed to necessarily graduate students. Like, I don't mean that in a shitty way even, but it's designed to, like, maybe you go there and you take a continuing education course to get more advanced in your field or more knowledge in your field, but you're not really looking to get a degree from there. So I don't know if that sort of stuff gets factored into those numbers or how that works.
And that's where I wasn't quite sure how they factored in. I was like, and so I was like, I don't know if we should be talking to like graduation rate, because like what is that saying? Like a corporation shouldn't support an education facility because their graduation rate is low. Like, where are we going with this?
It is kind of an interesting debate in terms of like cart before the horse, in terms of like, do you support, should you provide more resources to a school that has a low graduation rate to help the people that aren't graduating, or is that low graduation rate indicative of a school that just isn't very good, or is a for-profit school and is just churning people for the student loan money? It's there's a lot.
I just thought it was it was just a slippery slope to start getting into that dicey kind of conversation, and so I just tried to pull it back to about the context.
But don't you think that it's kind of interesting, because I feel like it's still a relevant statistic to at least consider, given that there are so many universities out there that have a much higher percentage, whether they're for profit or not for profit. And so I find the concept interesting and still worth noting. To me, I feel like that's worth noting.
It may have played in who would have accepted that partnership. Maybe
Yeah.
like, I don't know. So I hear you there. But yeah, I think that's why she removed it, because I started thinking, oh, that's kind of slippery slope. I don't know if we should start talking about that right now.
But it's a fascinating argument. I know that's we're really far removed from Peloton.
Yeah,
at this
we
point,
are.
But I do find that concept interesting of like, when is that indicative of a bad school, and when is that indicative of a school that needs more resources? And
Either way, I will give Echelon props for coming up with a unique way to come up with research. So you're not going to, I don't think you're going to hear me say that very often.
Well, I will say it's not all that unique.
It's not.
It's not unique.
Yeah.
But it's different than everybody else is doing in connected fitness.
That's fair.
They didn't just follow what Peloton did. Or they didn't just follow what the Mirror did, So like I'm giving them points for that, but the concept itself is not unique. I realize that.
Yeah. That's what I learned. I didn't know. I thought when I posted it, I thought it was unique. I was like, wow, that's kind of unique, right? And then people came and be like, no, Apple already does that. And like, they started telling me these other people that do that. But basically the question I was asking really was, should Peloton do that?
Yeah.
Like, should Peloton go collaborate with a university and build them a lab and have interns in classes at universities, like helping them with innovation?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like right now the optics are so weird for them. Every time they do something that isn't directly generating revenue, people scream bloody murder about it, right? Like,
that's true.
You laid off these people, but you can do this. You laid off these people, but you can do that. And it's just like, okay, I mean, I get that, but you also need to do what's right for the company. It's not like, well, we'll just sit here and tread water until we can hire everybody back. Like, that's not how it works, So I can
appreciate that. I can appreciate that because Peloton donated money to some organization last month. I don't even remember what it was. But my first investor thought was, why are you giving away money? You ain't got no money. And then I went, wait a minute, that's
that was the week you weren't able to be on the show. And I had seen that you wrote that. And I did bring that point up in our show because of that. I didn't say it was just from you, but I just made it general. But my point is, I don't think you were the only person asking that question. And I think it is a fair question to be asked.
Yeah. I asked the question and then I went, but wait a minute, that's a really good place to donate money. Like, I wasn't sure which side of that I should be on.
Well, you can be both. In my opinion, you're not saying that you shouldn't donate to good causes. You are saying if you guys are thinly capitalized, then why are you giving away money away? I think both are fair questions to ask. And it's probably to do with taxes and all kinds of crap.
And it's a different budgetary line item. And it's like, it's a whole corporate structure.
And by that,
it was just weird. The shell game, right? It was just weird. Like you just said you spent $700 and some odd $million in a quarter,
right?
And then you said, and then we got a $750 million loan that nobody knew about. Oh, and by the way, we have about $8 million in cash and cash equivalents on hand. So what does that mean? You would have been at zero at what is this telling me? Oh, and then by the way, I just donated some money. So I was just using my layman John Mills home checkbook budgeting, scenarios. And I would have went, I can't donate this month because I ain't got no money. I just borrowed some. Like
you fired up your old Peachtree software.
Right. I can't donate to the Fireman's Fund this month because I just borrowed from Western Union.
Sorry, UNICEF. It's not happening.
Right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us and finding those articles. Those are always interesting.
And all of your fabulous commentary because it's the best.
Yes. But until next week, where can people find you?
They can find me in my Facebook group or page, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on Instagram, Run, Lift, and Live. They can find me on the Tickety Talk, Run, Lift, and Live. Or they can find me at runliftandlive.com.
Awesome.
That's wonderful.
Getting the psychological edge with Dr. Jenn.
Joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Jenn Mann, licensed marriage, family, and child therapist and sports psychology consultant. You may know her from VH1's Couples Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or VH1's Family Therapy with Dr. Jenn, or her long-running radio show, The Dr. Jenn Show. She's written 4 best-selling books, including The Relationship Fix, Dr. Jenn's 6-Step Guide to Improving Communication, Connection, and Intimacy. It's Dr. Jenn. Welcome back.
Hello, great to be back.
We're so glad to have you. And we have lots of clip out questions for you. People need help.
I love that. I love the clip out community and all of their questions.
We do have some good questions in our community.
Funny, like just the different perceptions. Crystal's like, this is the difference between the two. She's like, we have some great questions. And I'm like, our listeners are a hot mess.
Come on, who isn't a hot mess in this day and age?
Exactly.
Very
exactly. Well, Kristen Schuster, she wrote in because she has a 12-year-old daughter who dances. She's trying to encourage some healthy eating with her daughter. And she feels like overall her daughter does well. But the girls come to dance class with large Starbucks drinks that are loaded with calories, sugar, and caffeine. Although her daughter dances many hours a day, the mom, Kristen, tries to come at it from the angle of you're an athlete and you need to fill your body with good fuel. But of course, she wants to eat what the other kids are eating. My concern is we have a history of obesity in our family, a strong family history. And I have a history of disordered eating, being Kristen. And she wants her to grow up with good eating habits without making her daughter have a complex about it. How do I do this?
I love this question. And I also love her awareness of her own anxiety and her own issues, because as parents, that is really one of the keys to us parenting well. So I have a few pieces of advice. The first is watch any diet talk. Diet talk is anything that is diet culture. It is talking about foods in terms of good foods and bad foods. It's talking about your body in negative ways. It's talking about, oh, I'm so fat, or, oh, I've gained weight. It's all of that kind of negative food and body talk that unfortunately women tend to do amongst each other. Yeah. And sometimes we think, oh, my kids aren't hearing me, but you know what? They're in the other room. You're talking on the phone to your girlfriend going, oh, I ate so much this weekend. I've probably gained 5 pounds. Oh, I hate the way I look. And you're basically teaching your daughter how to talk to herself. So it's important to be really aware. If you are struggling with those issues, then you want to work with someone who is a therapist or a registered dietitian who has an understanding of what I call intuitive eating. And intuitive eating is kind of the next part of the answer to her question, that you really want to encourage your daughter to listen to her body and to also to look at how her body responds to different foods. I don't believe in good foods and bad foods. I think that as soon as we start doing that, we start feeling guilty about certain foods. And what the studies have shown is that when you withhold certain foods from yourself or your child, when your child or you are then around those foods, you tend to lose control. So there's a very different experience if you eat something, then you're like, ooh, that made me feel sick, or oh, that gave me gas, or like, oh, I couldn't get through my workout, like, or I had stomach cramps. Versus, and then you go, oh, I'm not going to eat that next time, as opposed to, oh, that's bad. Oh, that's fattening. And that kind of thinking is what leads to eating disorders. When we start labeling foods like that, because what happens is that we start to say, well, that's bad. If I ate it, I must be bad, especially for kids. And then a lot of the time there's a lot of that talk amongst each other. Oh, I was so bad this week. And I see this on Instagram all the time. Oh, I was bad. And it drives me crazy because it's very eating disorder thinking and it's very diet culture thinking. What we want to do is to teach our kids to honor their bodies by listening to their bodies and asking their bodies what they want, by asking them how they felt after a certain meal. And if your daughter wants to be having Starbucks with her friends, look, in my family, we talk a lot about grow foods when my kids were really little, about what foods would help them grow and be strong. as opposed to good foods and bad foods. And so what we want to do is talk about foods and nutrients that will help give you energy versus ones that are just fun foods. Again, not bad foods, but fun foods that are fun to eat, and everybody likes to eat them, and it's good to eat them. But we also want to make sure we give our bodies the food that they need to have fuel.
Right.
And I think it's really important for her to be exploring in her own therapy, kind of her own anxieties about her weight and her daughter's weight. And then last but not least, there are a few books that I would recommend. I would recommend Intuitive Eating by Elise Resch and Evelyn Triboli. I would also recommend Janine Roth's book, Breaking Free from Emotional Eating. Those are two of my absolute favorites.
Wow. Well, that was a lot. And I love how there were very actionable items in all of your advice. You always give great advice.
Thank you. One other book I would recommend, and that is How to Get Your Kids to Eat But Not Too Much by Ellen Satir.
I love that you can rattle off the authors with the titles. Very impressive.
Thank you.
You should do this for a living.
You know what? I should. I'm going to try that.
I have a good feeling.
Yes.
If you need any recommendations or something, just let us know. We'll help you out. We like to.
Yeah, thank you, Tom. For sure. I'll call you later.
Well, thank you very much for all that great advice. We greatly appreciate it. I'm sure the listener did too. I've already forgotten the name.
Kristen.
That's who I am. Kristen. Actually, I was pretty sure it was Kristen, but I knew as soon as I doubled down and said it,
it would be wrong. Yeah. That's fair.
I still call her like hun, babe, wife.
It's only been a decade. I mean,
just in case.
I understand. I'm terrible with names too. And the only thing I'm worse at is facial recognition.
Unless they wrote a book.
Yeah.
That's a bad combo.
Yeah, a terrible combo.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Until next time, where can people find you?
On social media, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Snapchat, at Dr. Jenn Man, 2 N's on Jen, 2 N's on Man. And also every week, In Style magazine online, Hump Day with Dr. Jenn is my weekly column where I give relationship and sex advice.
Wonderful.
Awesome.
Instructors in the news.
Another week, another pregnant instructor.
That seems to be what we're doing now. I do, and let me just say, we have more coming.
Yeah,
there at least two.
Yeah.
At least two, you guys. It's coming very soon. Very soon.
I was like, I don't know what they're putting in the water over there, but apparently it's semen.
Whatever it is, it's very effective.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Dr. Chelsea Jackson Roberts, pregnant with her first child, and with her husband. They're both super excited about it. Her husband's name is Shane, and very, very cool. Now, Tom, you might remember that Dr. Roberts is always on with Jennifer Garner.
Yeah.
Like they go on live. And so she told Jennifer Garner on one of the lives, and it was a very sweet moment. So that was in that article that you just moved off of.
Gotcha. Sorry. There you go.
So if you scroll, you would be able to see the reaction. So she started crying. It was really sweet.
Yeah. Like I'm starting to wonder like how they clearly have to be orchestrating this because they have multiple instructors expecting simultaneously. And so I feel like there's some sort of like chat thread where it's like, how far along are you?
I literally think their PR team is like, you do this, and then next week we'll have, because it's once a week. And I think I would say in the next 2 weeks, we're going to have at least one more. And then I would say in the next 2 weeks, we'll have one more after that.
Yeah.
So at least.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yes.
So exciting. And Chelsea's little baby bump could not be cuter. Oh my God. It's adorable. So cute.
So watch this space, and pretty soon, right when we're done announcing the pregnancies, we'll start to announce births.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. What is going to happen when all of these women are out on maternity leave at the same time?
Well,
Anybody wondering about that?
They have like 75 instructors.
No, they
now.
have 54. But actually, I have a theory about this.
Okay.
My theory is one of the reasons that classes have been light is because they're already filming classes. Look at that. Look at that reaction. They're already filming classes for when they're going to be gone. That's what I think is happening. I think you have
Interesting.
all these classes they're trying to get kind of
Banked.
built up
Yeah.
and banked. Yeah, that's what I think we're doing. And
Okay.
Jennifer Garner lost it.
Yeah. Well, from one milestone to another, Matt Wilpers has gotten engaged.
He has. Jessica Lee is his new fiance, and he put this out on Instagram on Friday, real cash.
Yeah.
Now this one, it's always harder to tell a proposal is coming than a baby,
Sure.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
But it's hard to speculate. Like, we think there's other people that are getting engaged at Peloton. But I feel like even the guys are harder to tell than the women. You just never know,
Yeah.
like, what's going on. But he's been with her for 3 years, and so he has now made it official. So very exciting.
It's funny because I know, like, the take on Power Zones, right, is that it's not fun, it's analytical.
Yeah.
Right? It's super focused on numbers and
Technical.
and data. And so it's like it's not super emotional or fun. You know, it's that. And I think you can see it summed up in the pull quote in this article from Matt Wilpers on his engagement. I look forward to our future together. Like, like that just exudes romance.
Doesn't it? I agree. Like, that just kind of sums up, like, you could just see him being, like, very earnest,
Yes.
but also very
Totally.
serious.
Like, it's just who he is. Like,
It
he's
is.
just like, I
look forward to our future together.
I'm going to start signing all our anniversary cards that way. I look forward to our future together.
Well, congrats
Absolutely.
to Matt Wilpers and his fiance.
And People Magazine is spotlighting Jess King as she does her first maternity shoot.
Yeah, she showed off that baby bump on People Magazine, and
So now the child's college has been paid for.
right. People Magazine is good for that.
Yes.
And all the instructors are going through major milestones this year, so they're all getting a payout. Congrats. Very cool. Very cool. She's sharing a lot. She's been very excited and apparently, really struggling with body image during this time, which I hope she's able to, like, give herself some grace about, because first of all, she's fine.
Yeah.
Like, try being a quote
But then,
unquote, like, average size.
Totally. But you know what? That has to be a culture shock, right?
I'm sure
because
it
like
is.
you're a
Absolutely.
fitness instructor and like your whole job is your body, and she spent her entire adult life like basically sculpting her body through fitness, and now she can't control what it's going to do. I mean, obviously she can to some degree, but to a lot of degrees she can't.
Right.
And so like that has to be like,
It's kind of like when you started exercising after having said for like 50 years that you would never exercise. It's a shift in who you are, your
Yeah.
identity. And I'm only comparing the two because it's such a shift in her identity,
Right.
since her body is her identity, since she uses it so publicly, being in fitness. Like, that's
Right.
a really public look.
yeah,
So yeah,
by
but-
virtue of definition, she's on display in that regard,
Yeah.
whether she wants to be or not.
Exactly. So, anyway, the best to Jess King as well.
It's just I need a new sweeper just for milestones.
I know,
right?
I
And
know.
Christine Dierkley's wedding is just around the corner.
This Saturday. So you guys are going to be hearing this on Friday if you listen right away. And then boom, she's married on Saturday and she'll be back on Monday. I'm glad she's taking time off.
Yeah. Hopefully there's like a bigger
Well,
honeymoon or trip
to be
planned.
fair, it says see you Monday. I'm actually not sure if this was like from a few days ago and because this says 2 days ago. So was that Sunday saying she'd see us Monday,
Gotcha.
or was that
yeah,
like
I don't like
three
how Instagram timestamps
I
their
know.
posts.
I honestly cannot tell. I cannot tell if she meant that she was going to be gone. Yeah, so I don't know. But she's getting married. That's the important thing. Congrats to Christine.
And I will also say, I think it's safe to say that Christine has the means to do whatever she wants for a honeymoon.
Yeah.
So if she's not taking one, it's because she does not want to take one.
Absolutely. 100%. Yes.
Pop Sugar sat down with Olivia Amato with tips for, I guess she had some high heel shoes that people were sharing because they're very, very tall, like platform 70s
They're almost
style.
as tall as she is.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, they're like 5-6 inches tall. They're really, really tall. But she has secret for walking in them, and she shares it in Pop Sugar. So,
Okay.
yeah, I don't know what secret. Honestly, I don't care. I would never wear shoes like that.
Please don't, because I'm already short.
I know,
so
Tom.
don't add like 6 inches to your height.
I won't. I would definitely fall over and die if I tried. No matter what her secret is, it's not going to work for me.
Yeah,
So,
you'd spend the whole time holding on to me.
yeah, I'd be like, walk right in front of me and let me hold onto your shoulders. So what would be the point of wearing them?
Yes. That's why I stopped wearing them.
I know. I don't blame you.
And if you would like more tips, we have tips from Emma Lovewell on how to wear makeup while you sweat during a workout.
Yeah, and this has got to be a crazy thing for the women who wear makeup while they teach a class. Like, just so much sweat.
Yeah.
She talks about relying on primer, which I can definitely see why that is important, because it kind of like fills everything in, and then the makeup sits on top of it and sticks to it. So
Okay.
you would definitely need that, but I can't imagine all the layers, because she talks about now you put on a liquid base, and then there's like now there's going to be waterproof mascara. All of these things make sense. It's just a lot of liquid, a lot of layers you got to put on.
Totally. So I have a boy question.
Okay.
Or at least a this boy question.
Okay.
Some boys are wearing makeup.
Yeah.
Is this something anyone other than a fitness instructor would care about? Like, do women really wear makeup when they're working out if they're not on display in the capacity of an instructor like this?
Well, first of all, there's a whole lot of people that do selfies when they're done working out. So
okay, I guess, yeah.
I think that there are people that go into the studio. I know that we haven't been able to do that in 2 years, but I do know when I was there were legit people putting on makeup so that when they got done with their class and they took their picture with their instructor, they looked good.
Gotcha.
So it's totally a thing. However, I think that the different tips that you're getting here would still be great for anything, because, like, let's say you have an outdoor wedding.
Right, it's super hot.
Exactly. So I think it could be used for multiple things. It's just happens to be her secrets for the bike.
Sure. I mean, I guess if it can withstand a workout, it can withstand a 90-degree outdoor wedding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which sadly we have stood through.
Yes.
And I say stood because they didn't have chairs. That's a whole nother story.
And Samio went to LA and gave us a nice recap of his adventures on Instagram.
So he went to LA and he was there for 72 hours. And I'm really not clear what he was doing, but it looks like a lot of fun because there's a step and repeat wall and I see Disney and Meta.
And Procter & Gamble.
Yeah, so I don't know what he was doing, but it looks like he had a fabulous time. Now, are any of these people...
and
yeah.
Nordstrom.
Yeah. Are any of these people famous? Do we know?
Not to me,
okay,
but they might be.
Yeah, like,
I mean, there's so many different ways to be famous these days.
And all of these people are young, so just because we don't recognize them doesn't mean a thing. Totally. He also had some boba, in case you were wondering. So...
yeah, but yeah, he had a good time in LA.
He definitely had a good time. I love whenever the instructors share their journeys. So
yes. He even had some junk food.
Yeah, In-N-Out burger.
Right. So
you got to do that when you're in LA.
Absolutely. I'm not gonna lie. In-N-Out burger. It was fine.
It was fine. Yeah.
Like,
I really don't get what people are so excited about. Like,
I liked it, but it was not like, it didn't blow my mind.
It was not life changing the way I thought it would be. The way people rave about it.
Make these journeys to where I've got to go to In-N-Out burger. I'm just like, it was a decent fast food burger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, he went to the Walk of Fame. You got to do that.
Yes.
Got to do that, even though it smells like pee.
At least when we were there, it smells like pee.
Yeah.
On my monkeys pages, people are always getting their picture taken in front of the monkey star on the Walk of Fame, and I'm like, oh, don't sit on the ground next to that.
Don't lay down. Oh, don't put your face there. Oh my God. Yeah. I know.
Yeah. I'm just like, oh, I think I got scabies just looking at that picture.
Yeah, but then I think about what a terrible mom I am, because that one time we were in New York and Sydney sat down on the subway and everyone simultaneously was like, get your child off the floor. Ew!
CPS was waiting for us at the next stop. We're like, we're tourists. This child doesn't know yet.
Yeah, she's little.
Yeah. Oddly enough, she's not grown an inch since that day. It's been 8 years.
It was the floor.
Yeah.
The Clip Out. Clip Out. Clip Out.
Joining us once again via the magic of ZoomTube, it's Angelo from MetPro here to answer all of your nutrition questions.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hi. Thank you for coming back despite your busy, crazy week.
Yes, it has been a busy, crazy week, but I am glad to be here.
Well, I know that Margaret Folkman Robertson is going to be happy that you're here because she is trying to figure out how to eat and when. Should it be before or after a workout? And how does she get enough protein in every day? Because it's tricky without using a shake or supplement.
I vote for during the workout.
Oh, during?
Yeah.
See, I think, no. This is why we don't let you answer questions.
Crystal's like, that's why the tonal's been sticky.
Ew.
Look, there's a worse option.
Stop it.
What?
Stop it.
There you go.
You're gonna make Angelo leave.
I'm gonna change the topic, and I'm
Okay.
gonna tell you about Fran with cheeseburger. Back in the day, when we were doing CrossFit workouts, there was the dare that you had to do Fran, which is a named workout, and you had to do it and then eat a cheeseburger. And if you get through it without, hurling, then you were manly. I guess I don't know. I don't know what the thing is, but
I feel sorry for your custodial staff. That seems kind of like
the trick.
I just picture a janitor over there being like, yeah, this is a great idea. Thanks a lot.
Guess what the custodial staff was back in the day, Tom?
You?
You're looking at 'em.
Okay, then I'll allow it.
That's the way it works. Yep. Okay, so Margaret, she had a question, and I think I remember what it was.
It's been a while.
Been a while. How to eat, when to eat, and how to get enough protein. So I'm presuming she's hitting her workouts and trying to position around that.
Yes.
Well, again, Margaret, if you've listened to our segment, the answer is always
It depends.
Right. It depends. So what'll help for the listeners is tell us what your goal is. My primary goal is performance, or to decrease my run time for a mile or my marathon time, or to hit a PR on the Peloton, or to hit a PR on my tonal work, or whatever the case may be. Or my goal is to lose 10 pounds and I've already lost 15 and now if we get a little bit more context, then I can be even more specific with my comments. But as general advice when it comes to these topics, what you want to do is eat frequently without putting yourself in line for digestive upset. That means is, you've heard, yes, you should eat before you exercise and have breakfast. But if you're about to exercise and it makes you nauseous or gives you an upset stomach, it's not the end of the world if you eat right after. Try to get some fuel in you before, and then try to get a little bit of fuel in you after. As a general rule, when somebody starts with us in MetPro, we make it really simple because people say, how many times a day should I eat? What time should I eat? Everyone wakes up at a different time, goes to bed at a different time, has a different schedule and lifestyle. So what I want you to do is, generally speaking, try to eat breakfast within about an hour of waking up. Breakfast stands for break fast. And you'll notice that when you break fast, it forces your metabolism to turn on, which is why when you have a light breakfast, you are actually hungrier for lunch. Most people realize that. Most people say, yeah, that is true. Why does that happen? Because your metabolism is actually turning on. So if you have breakfast within about an hour of waking up, then figure out a reasonable and ideally consistent time you can have lunch and dinner, and then position a snack in between. If there's not enough time for a snack between breakfast and lunch, try to at least position a small snack between lunch and dinner. That snacking window is the priority. It is less convenient. Most people don't stop what they're doing at 3 o'clock for a snack. But the amount of time that elapses between lunch and dinner is usually much greater than it is between breakfast and lunch. So an afternoon snack can have profound positive impacts on blood sugar stabilization, appetite control, and routine. So if you can just do one meal a day, believe it or not, pack an afternoon snack. Breakfast and then an afternoon snack. As far as the protein for Margaret, there is nothing wrong with supplementary protein. That's what it was designed for. It was designed for people who don't have time to cook an elaborate high protein meal and eat throughout the day. The people that started using it was bodybuilders. They were trying to get more protein throughout the day and they needed a convenient way of doing it. Now, what happened is marketing has kind of twisted it a little bit over the years to be, oh no, the protein powder is for weight loss. Well, no, protein is to get extra protein. If you want weight loss, then when you eat, I want you to eat something as satiating as possible. And I would actually rather you consume protein that's going to fill you up. Protein powder is not going to do that. Where protein powders come in is if you're not hungry, you're just short on time and you want to get an infusion of protein, plan to have consumable protein at lunch and dinner. And then if you want to supplement once or twice a day, I personally use a vegan protein powder. I think it works really good for me, but there's lots of brands, lots of type of protein out there that are high in protein, low in carbs, low in calories that work excellently for that. Hopefully, Margaret, that will help you kind of reason a little bit and figure out when you want to position things and how to spread out your meals.
I think that was very helpful for Margaret.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for all that. And if people would like this sort of nutritional information tailored for them and their fitness journeys, where can they find you?
Yes, come on over and talk to us at metpro.co/TCO. We'd love to visit.
Perfect. Thank you.
Peloton in the news.
The Financial Post is reporting that Peloton selling a stake in itself is unlikely.
Yes, because their cash position is pretty comfortable.
And this is coming from CEO Barry McCarthy, who told us that the monthly membership fee wouldn't be going up. So,
well, he also said that they were thinly capitalized, but then they got their $750 billion loan.
They
so
thicken that up.
Now it's all...
They got a little capitalization Viagra, and now they're
Stop it.
They're good to go. If your capitalization lasts for more than 4 hours, consult your physician.
Yep, so that's that. Yeah.
What do they do if it lasts for more than 4 hours? Do they lance it?
I don't know.
What is it?
I don't know, because I wonder if they give you steroids or something, because whenever I had a really, really bad migraine, it literally lasted 48 hours, and it was so bad that laying down hurt my head. I had to just sit there, and they gave me steroids for it, and they said that it reduces the inflammation. So I don't know. Maybe it's considered inflammation.
Yeah, I don't know. My thought was they show you pictures of ugly people. I don't
know.
Anyway,
but
back to this.
Yeah, Barry McCarthy, he did some kind of that we talked about last week, that he was going to be on a speech. Actually, it's not that we talked about it last weweek. To be fair, I saw it in John's group, Run, Lift, and Live.
Okay.
Because I said, dear God, somebody get Barry a muzzle. That's what it was. And because usually it would be Jill Woodworth that had done it, the talk, and she did it last year, but this year it was Barry. So he talked about some other things. There are a bunch of quotes in here from him.
Yes, at the current price, you'd have to be a moron to sell equity unless there's some spectacular increase in value. So
that's definitely Barry.
Yeah. I think it acknowledges that the share prices are so low. It's giving it away. He does not expect it to stay at this price point, and so he's not going to sell right now.
Yeah, which I agree. It's just that's such a Barry thing to say.
It is. Yeah,
freaking morons.
You know what? I know that on the one hand, people are get him someone to teach him, but on the other hand, there's something to be said for transparency. But you know where he stands. These financial people who follow Peloton,
I feel there's two major groups of people who follow Peloton really closely, like we do. And I feel there's one, it's the people like us that, like me, that just love Peloton. And so I just watch every move they make. And there's a whole bunch of us out there that.
And then there's people that are waiting for them to fail and rooting for them.
Yeah, whatever. But then there's also a whole nother group of people, and they are the financial people. And they are they're all the businessy types.
Right.
And so they love Barry. The people who are like me that love Peloton and who Peloton is, we're not so sure about Barry. But then you have these financial people, they all love Barry. I don't get it.
I mean, I think it's because I think the financial people, they're not in love with the product, and to them, that's a selling point, right?
Yeah.
They need somebody that's going to make unbiased decisions that aren't caught up in a quote unquote vision. Vision's great as long as it's working.
True. That's fair.
And so they want someone that's going to go in and make hard choices, and he does not seem scared to do it. We'll see if they work, but
he's out there making them.
Yeah. Right. Like, people talk about like the vision of Walt Disney, right?
Yeah.
Okay, there were a lot of years where Walt Disney as an investment shit the bed for a long time. For decades, that company was treading water because they're visionary, and he was, but as soon as that company made a nickel, he'd pull out 10 cents and do something crazy like build a theme park, and
it happened to pay off. So now we look back at it and we're like,
right.
he's so smart. He's a genius.
But even in the 80s, it was still touch and go about if Disney World was going to stay afloat.
Yeah.
Right. So
that's fair.
it took a long time for it to get to to get solidified in a way that you're like, this thing is never going to go away because it's that big. And in some ways he was a visionary. In some ways he's succeeded in spite of himself, not because of it. It's really hard to disentangle sometimes.
Well, because at the end of the day, we're all human, including Barry, including Disney, Walt Disney, and so there's some things that are positive and there are some things that are not.
Absolutely.
So I just thought this was an interesting article.
Yeah, it's not necessarily Peloton specific, but
it mentions Peloton.
Sure. Well, can it not? The headline is "It's time to retire the phrase pandemic stock," and here's why. And if you ask the average person the name of pandemic stock, almost people are going to be like Netflix, Zoom, Peloton.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And they have a whole bunch of reasons why. It's an interesting article, but I literally just thought it was interesting to bring up. And I think that regardless of where you fall in, like you think you should, you think you shouldn't.
Yeah.
I think that it will. Like the pandemic will. I know it's hard to believe, but in 5 years, we're not going to think of it as a pandemic stock anymore.
Yeah.
It'll just be a stock, assuming all those companies survive.
Right.
They will all just be a stock, and it will be a whole new set of circumstances and things by then, and everyone will have kind of forgotten how we got there.
Yeah, I know. I agree. It'll just be an interesting footnote.
Mm-hmm. Sad and terrible, but
a sad
yes.
footnote.
But anyway. You like my fancy Instagram post?
I do.
You can tell I'm in a hurry when I post these.
Yeah.
I'm just like.
So there were some issues with Apple Watches and the Peloton app this week.
Yeah. So here's the deal. This isn't just an issue.
Okay.
It's done. So Apple Watch Series 1 and 2, apparently, this is other people telling me this, they are considered defunct, obsolete, whatever you want to call it. Not just from Peloton, from everyone.
From Apple.
Yeah, Apple, exactly. And so if you have a 1 or 2 and you use it with Peloton, you don't anymore. And now is the time to upgrade. Now 3 appears to be on the bubble. Officially, it should in theory work because it should have the latest software updates from Apple. However, there are people that are reporting no issues, and there are people reporting it has just come off their watch and there's no way to get it back. And their watch is out of space to be able to put Peloton on there. So that's where we are. Regardless of if it's working or it's not, my suggestion to you is it's time to upgrade because
the days are numbered.
The days are numbered.
The clock is ticking.
Mm-hmm. So, and if I were you, I'd just go straight to the 7 because you know how these things work. They're going to come out with 10 more.
Right.
So just go straight to the big one.
Future-proof yourself. Precor and Red Bull have announced a partnership. Precor, of course, now being Peloton Commercial. Why does the headline say Precor when they said that they're now Peloton Commercial?
I don't know.
Okay.
That was one of the reasons I included this. I thought it was interesting. Maybe just because from a clickbait standpoint, clickbait's not the right word, but like an SEO standpoint,
right?
That people know Precor. Like they know Precor.
Yeah, but any other time we're saying people put Peloton in the headline because that drives the
But
clicks.
this is different because this is like commercial. This is commercial, and Peloton is not known for commercial yet.
Right.
I don't know. That's just my guess. I have no idea. I'm guessing everything.
Okay.
It's a new world. Like this going forward. We can't go by what happened in the past with Peloton. It's all based on new events. But at any rate, there's this partnership, and they're going to equip the new 3,000 square foot state of the art fitness facility at Technology Campus. So Red Bull Racing has invested in this technology campus in Milton Keynes. Oh, I wish I knew how to pronounce that. Keynes? Sure. And it's going to be all state-of-the-art, high-performance fitness and well-being, fully equipped. So that's pretty cool that Precor is going to be doing that. And regardless of why they're calling it that, I think it's really good for Peloton. This sets a very, very good precedence, since it's the first major thing that has been announced since they started officially calling it Peloton Commercial.
Yeah. And Peloton has a new Senior Vice President of Global Communications.
Yeah, I can't remember his first name, something Boyd. The interesting thing about this is that he does not report to Barry. He reports to Dara, who's also an SVP.
Okay.
So that's just weird. Very weird.
What do you read into that? You look like you have thoughts that means something.
Because SVPs don't report to other SVPs.
Gotcha. I don't know.
In any other company that I've worked in, it would have been they both would report to Barry. It's weird. It's like, why is Dara not just like another level above this guy? Like, why? Like, it's just weird.
Okay.
It's very weird.
We will watch this space.
Peloton artist collaborations.
We have 2 new artist series this week, both from people I've heard of, so I don't feel as old.
I know. But Harry Styles is young and very hip.
But he's so well known that even old people like me, I could not name a single Harry Styles song.
Here's the thing.
But I know
thought
who he
I
is.
liked him, and then I did one of the classes, and I was just like not blown away. And that's okay, because like I don't need to like all the music that we put out there. I was bummed because I, like you, Tom, was excited it was somebody I recognized, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna know the songs, but I didn't.
I know him from movies.
Yeah, but
he was in Dunkirk, and he's I forget, is he Warlock or something? He's one of the new Marvel characters that they did a post-credit scene with.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. But the next one.
Norah Jones.
Norah Jones. Do you remember the early 2000s when Norah Jones was everywhere?
I do.
Yeah. So she's back. She's got a new album, and of course it dropped. And can I like do a complete segue on something I did not include but wanted to, because I didn't want to include the video because it was a story? Can I just like go off on here?
Sure.
A little tangent.
Okay.
If you will. Okay, so
It's your show.
here's the interesting thing about this. Yesterday, I think it was yesterday, DJ John Michael posted this long story, and he was like, I see what you guys post about all of these artist series, and I would just like to tell you how I feel about it. And he was going on and on about everybody has their favorites, everybody has this, everybody has that. And he was like, but here's the deal. You don't just like go to the store and say, it sounded like you, Tom.
Yeah.
You don't just go to the store and you're like, okay, I would like a Norah Jones
Right.
artist series. Got it. Thanks. Bye. Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
Yes.
He's like, these collaborations we work on for years.
Yeah.
He's like, just because it's your favorite artist does not mean your favorite artist wants to work with us. He's
and
like,
even if they do, they're going to time it to the release of a new record or
said,
a book. Or,
he said sometimes the artists aren't feeling it. Sometimes they're feeling it, but they want to wait till a new record, like you just said, new album, whatever. Or sometimes they want to wait till they have a tour. Sometimes they want to wait till they have a book coming out. He's like, we have to do it based on what they want, not what we want. So yeah, we hear you that you want these things, and there's just some things are out of our control.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because I say I deal with this where I work all the time. Other people in the building, I book concerts if for people that don't know, and other people in the building are like, well, I don't know why you just don't get Lady Gaga. And I'm like, well, first off, our venue is too small for Lady Gaga, so you don't know what you're talking about. But also, it's like you don't just go to the concert store and be like, oh, let's see, I'll take a Lady Gaga, I'll take a Taylor Swift. Like it does not work like that. So it's not like I don't know that those artists are popular. But thanks for your input. Now go back to your department.
exactly. It's so much harder than people think it is.
Absolutely. Well, I feel you, DJ John Michael.
I thought that you would like hearing that because you like that behind the scenes type of stuff from a music standpoint. But also, I just thought it was kind of nice that he was like, here's the deal. And he did it in his very DJ John Michael kind of way.
Peloton Celebrity Sightings.
So we have a new Peloton member celebrity sighting. This one was cited by Alex Toussaint. He shared it.
He did, and I apologize for the terrible image. But like I was trying to capture it because these stories go away before I get a chance.
Totally.
Like, by the time we record, they're gone.
Yes,
and
but
it's a lot of pain to rip them.
DJ Khaled. He posted on his tread.
He did, yeah. He was doing a class on his tread, and he was actually doing a scenic class. He was doing the newest one with Mariana from Puerto Rico. How cool is that?
In case you missed it.
Rebecca Kennedy has a new
set of
strength classes, standing core.
Yeah, so it's all core classes, but the idea is you don't have to get on the floor. So like a lot of classes include planks or sit-ups or crunches, things like that. None of that in this class. So you might do like, instead of, she has like all of these different things that you do, the different moves like crunches, but you might do side crunches instead of like laying on your back and touching your toes back and forth. So 15, 20-minute classes, all standing core. This is really good for people who have limited mobility. So this is really awesome. Very glad to see it. Thank you so much for making sure this happened, Rebecca. We really appreciate it.
And also there is a new Peloton apparel drop, this time to support Pride Month. And I saw people making fun of the fact that it features hoodies just in time for June.
Yeah. So the entire collection was 2 hoodies and a pair of socks.
Okay.
Yeah. And they called it a launch. It's the weird. This is so weird. Okay, so I get that there are a lot of things going on. So I get it, Peloton. Like you guys got some other irons in the fire. Totally get it. I'm okay with the fact that there's only 3 items. But here's the deal. Here's what might help you, PR department. Tell us that it's just going to be 3 items. Because see, last year there were 18,000. So when you go from 18,000 to 3, everyone bitches. And then you guys hyped it up. You were like, oh, it's coming, the Pride collection on the 25th. So we got all excited. And then it was 3 things. A pair of socks. You can't even see that they're rainbow colored. They're in your shoes.
Yeah, somebody said the part that's rainbow colored is the tip of the sock. So like, I guess, as soon as you put on shoes.
Yeah, you can't even see it. And then there's a lot of people that don't even like these hoodies. I actually really like the black one, the one that's reverse tie-dye. But people said it gave them Tony the Tiger vibes. So a lot of tiger jokes came out of that. I saw a picture of Benny Adami. This is the best Pride wearing of the Pride clothes. He had the sweatshirt on and he cut off the sleeves.
Oh, he pulled a John Mills.
But then he
more.
took it a step further. He had on very adorable short shorts, and then he took the sleeves and made them into leg warmers.
I thought you were going to say he made it a baby shark.
No, but it looked amazing. Like, it really worked. It really, really worked. I was like, that is creative. You almost got me to buy that, Benny Adami, but I'm never wearing leg warmers, so it doesn't matter.
You don't know how to make them.
No, I don't. I would have to be like, could you tell me in English, please?
Yes.
Because if you make it a tutorial in German, I still can't do it because I don't know how to speak German.
Fair enough.
Yeah, but it's still very cool. Anyway, I liked the drop. Just, let us know there's only going to be 3 items so we have a heads up so we don't get all pissy, because that's what we do. We get pissy.
Peloton birthdays.
And finally, we have one birthday this week, Jess King on May 29th.
She's having a big week.
She is.
Babies, birthdays, it's all happening.
Yeah. So happy birthday to Jess King.
Happy birthday.
Checking in with the Peloton community.
So joining us today via the magic of ZoomTube is Dr. Ryan Fields. Hello.
Hi.
Hi, thank you guys for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for being here.
It sounds like under normal circumstances, this would be expensive.
He's got the copay on the way, Tom.
Yeah, I was going to say the copay is not bad if it's part of health maintenance. I think there's no copay, so we can spin it that way.
If we talk about fitness, is it health maintenance? Can we skew it that way, you think?
It should be. Some insurance plans, I think they give you a discount or something for joining a home gym. So I figure
there we go.
Yeah.
Way to game the system. I like where your head's at.
So, may I call you Ryan? Is that okay?
Please, yes,
okay.
of course.
Shoo.
If you call him doctor, he's going to bill you.
That's true. That's
call him Ryan.
Good point. So, Ryan, when did you become involved in the Peloton community? When did you get your Peloton?
I got ours. We were kind of probably on that cusp right before the pandemic, because we had a little space for a home-ish gym and started getting into it then. I've always been a really big runner, so I did not see myself as a biker, let alone indoor biker ever. And I will tell you, I do not like true spinning classes. So I like the Peloton. I like the individual part of it to some degree, and some of the longer workouts.
Okay, now I'm curious because a lot of people will say, "Oh no, I don't like spin class, so I don't like Peloton." But you're saying you don't like traditional spin class, but you like Peloton. Correct. So what's different for you?
Although I do like the competitive side of the Peloton, I sort of see where I am on the leaderboard. I don't necessarily like it in a big room of sweaty people. And I actually thought initially I connected all things spinning with all things someone screaming at me in spandex and having to be in a really hot room, not like the actual workout part of it. So
okay, I gotcha. All right, and so if you have always been a big runner, how did you get involved with Pedal the Cause?
That's actually what got me into it. So I came and started working back at Siteman Cancer Center about 10 years ago, and Pedal the Cause was their big fundraiser, and I got really involved in it, started a team, started working towards it. And at the beginning, when you sort of are on the short end of the rides, these 12-mile rides, I was doing it on a mountain bike that I got when I was 13 for my bar mitzvah. That probably weighed about as much as I did. But I was in reasonable shape, so I could ride 12 miles on it. But as I got up and up, when I hit that 35-mile course, still on that bike on one of these September days that felt more like July, I'm like, okay, this is it. I got to get a real bike.
Got to move past the Huffy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It was a specialized rock hopper, but literally it was made out of steel.
Oh,
it was an old one, but it held up for a long time. And then I have a 13-year-old and a 10-year-old. So this was back when we were getting bikes for the kids. You had to keep up with them. And then I just really got into it. And as Jay Indovino, the old head of Pedal the Cause, used to say, he's like, you always need one more bike than you actually have. So then it got into, spending too much money on these pieces of equipment.
So I have to ask, are you familiar with the Peloton Road Riders group?
I'm not, no.
I think you would fit in well there because their motto is "Let us help you spend money." I mean, that's their unofficial motto. But they always have the correct amount of boxes. The correct amount of bikes is X plus 1, and they always show their new bikes off, even though they have a garage full of them, and they're amazing bikes, all of them. So I think you'd fit in well there. Just another group to consider joining. I think you would have fun over there.
Yeah. And then my wife's a big fitness person too, so she got really into it. She's still one of us is probably on it at different parts of the day. Fortunately, our schedules don't overlap so much, but we get good use out of it.
Oh, so you guys are constantly using the Peloton between the two of you then?
Yeah, and she's gotten really into this. I think it's called hardcore on the floor. So she does a lot of that, and then she just got my son, who's 13. Into doing this Tunde arm challenge. And my son, of course, as any 13-year-old looks at it, he's like, I could do that with 3-pound weights forever. And, 5 minutes into it, he's like, I can't move my arm. And the next day, he's asking us to open jars of peanut butter for him.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. That sounds exactly right.
Yep.
And so for people who may not be familiar, what exactly is Pedal the Cause?
So Pedal the Cause is a bike ride, not a race, although some people are pretty competitive with it. And its mission is to, a world without cancer. That's kind of their tagline. And the goal is to raise funds that goes to support research and education and the overall mission of the Siteman Cancer Center here in St. Louis. And The main thing that Pedal does in an incredible way is dollar for dollar. Every dollar that gets raised gets directed right back into the hands of the researchers at St. Louis Children's Hospital and Siteman Cancer Center that need it. And the real kind of overarching theme is that, if you really want to get a grant funded, and that usually means through the federal government, you really need to have a lot of data and information to support it. The NIH and the government in general are not all that. They're not like a venture capital firm. They're really not. They like safe investment. They like things that are going to succeed. So it takes a lot of upfront results just to sort of get the grant off the ground. But those upfront results cost a lot of money and take a lot of effort to get them off the ground. So this Pedal the Cause is really for seed money to take great ideas and give them the venture capital they need to get them off the ground. And their proof is kind of in the pudding, in the sense of they're kind of like a 9-to-1 investment. Every dollar that they've generated has generated another $9 in federal grant money.
Wow.
So they're doing a good job picking really good projects and funding really good projects. And the other, I think, just really, exciting thing about Pedal the Cause is if you really think about most of these ideas, like if I write a grant to the federal government, it's got about a 8 or 9% chance of getting funded, because there's a lot of good ideas and only the top 8 or 9% really get funded. So Pedal the Cause really takes these ideas and gets them in front of the real big dollar grants and gets them going.
So you're the grant before the grant.
Yeah. Yep. It's literally like the venture capital. I mean, it is the seed money that gets it on the radar, gets it to the level where it can succeed. And the people that it helps the most, although I don't think of myself as old, I guess I'm older in the sense of mid-career, but like when I was just starting out 10 years ago, this was really the kind of money that helps young investigators, gets people who are just finishing school and are just full of bright ideas, finishing fellowship, and gets this money off the ground, or take someone in the mid part of their career who's got a new idea, a new angle, and they want to run with it, and gets them going in that way.
Gotcha. So as somebody who knows nothing about how this works, does it help them at this point, not just from the money, but does the federal government maybe take a better look at the projects that you funnel their way because of your track record? Yeah,
definitely. And I would say one of the biggest things is what it means to be a comprehensive cancer center, which Siteman is, and Sloan Kettering and MD Anderson. There's about 30 of them around the country. To be a true comprehensive cancer center means the National Cancer Institute, the NIH, has recognized you as that because of your results and because of the research money you generate. But part of it is, how do you interact with and serve your community, and vice versa? How does your community support you as a cancer center? So having something like Pedal the Cause, which is our signature event for sure, it goes a long way towards achieving and maintaining that status, because it basically shows an investment of the community and in the cancer center in the community, ways that we function as a group, serve our catchment area. So, there's a lot of cancer centers around the country, but they're geographically distributed such that they serve the whole country. And so that's really part of the mission. So it goes a long way towards that. And we pick projects too that really affect our catchment area in a major way. There's certain things that affect our population more than, say, New York or California.
Really?
Like what would that be?
There's a couple interesting ones. I mean, number one, not to get political at all, but Missouri has the absolute lowest cigarette tax in the country. Cigarettes are cheaper in Missouri than any other state. And because of that, more people smoke, and because of that, more smoking associated cancers, much like lung cancer. So, ways to address lung cancer is a big deal in our area. And whether that's public health efforts to make awareness, to kind of get advertisements out of kids' faces for smoking, things like that. So lung cancer is a big initiative here. There's the part of Missouri that sticks into Arkansas, the Boot Heel, and that area has some of the highest rates of early onset colorectal cancer in the country, and we really don't understand why. So to study that is a huge mission of our cancer center, both at the public health level and the genetic and genomic level. So those are just a couple examples of things that we really emphasize here.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's
I would have
fascinating.
never guessed something like that. So,
I had no idea.
And I would have thought the lowest cigarette tax would be like in a state like Virginia that grows tobacco.
Well, we grow tobacco in Missouri too, don't
do
we?
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. There's some growth. There's actually a lot. And then there's a lot of businesses and distribution areas, because we're in the middle of the country, I think that have fed into it, but I don't fully appreciate or understand the whys, but it's one of those facts.
Yeah. They can get crazy with all the reasoning.
Yeah. And going back to the existence of Pedal the Cause, I never would have thought that that affects the optics of your organization on the other end of the equation. I just thought it's a fundraising tool, and that's the beginning and end of it.
Yeah.
And it started as a bunch of really, really motivated people sitting around the campfire, as it were, or the bike course, and Bill Coleman, who started it, really realized the need for it and the fact that this kind of seed money was important to really catalyze research. And he got together with a bunch of other people and really it sprung out of their idea. And it started as less than 100 people into what it is now. And so it's just become a model. It's been copied at other cancer centers. So it's just been an unbelievable success. And people like Terry Grieg and others who have really been involved in it from the beginning are just deeply vested in its success.
Wow. I don't think I ever fully appreciated the fact that Pedal the Cause is not necessarily nationwide. I thought it was something that every state had. I didn't realize it started here in Missouri.
The Pedal the Cause started. There's another Pedal the Cause that because Bill Coleman is in San Diego and has a relationship there's a second Pedal the Cause. And then there are some other versions of it, some bigger, some smaller around the country, because I think people have realized how successful it can be. There's one in Ohio State called Pelotonia that does an incredible job, and others. It's just a great model because, as Jay and Davino used to say, said, listen, not everybody can run, not everybody wants to go and do certain events, but everybody at one point in their life has been on a bike, and even if they're not in biking shape now, they can spin or they want to volunteer. It's such an easy way to do for a lot of different people to participate, and patients too. I mean, I don't know the exact number, but a lot of the teams are patient based. A lot of the riders, I'm sure more than half, are either cancer survivors, cancer fighters, families that are honoring loved ones. So it's an incredible celebration.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be out there. Last year was the first year I was there, and I know it was very small and scaled back because of the pandemic. So I'm excited to see what it's going to look like this year. And for people that don't know, it takes place September. It's the weekend of September 24th this year, I believe.
Correct.
And
I'm just looking at my Outlook. Yep, that's it.
Because that's my birthday.
Exactly. That's exactly why I know that.
Right.
Sorry, honey, I'll be busy.
Yeah.
You don't want to volunteer on your birthday?
No, I'm good.
But it's great because... Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead. It was great because what?
I was going to say it's great because they have so many different courses that you can do.
Yes.
They have courses that range from on the smaller end, 15 miles all the way up to 100 miles. And so you can get involved at any level you want to. And I think that's really awesome. It's really difficult to decide what kind of distance I want to do, and they have the spin zone for people that just want to ride the spin bike.
And the gravel options now. So Saturdays, all gravel based courses.
Oh yeah.
Part off the Katy Trail and some other areas like that. And then Sundays, mostly all the road rides. But like you said, anything from I think the shortest is 10, 15 miles all the way up to the Century. And the Century's got a lot of nice hills up by Six Flags area and Babbler Park and things like that. So it's a great course, and they do an incredible job with Chesterfield and Wildwood and all these areas with really good support from the police departments and that sort of thing.
That's wonderful.
So, how long has this been going on?
Over 10 years. I can't remember the exact first year. It was before I got here, but it's been maybe 10, 15 years, maybe something around there. Yeah. Wow. And it used to be downtown. When around there, they totally outgrew that, partly for parking, and sometimes there would be other sporting events that would throw them off and playoff games and things. So,
well, what's more St. Louis? What's more St. Louis than leaving downtown for Chesterfield?
There you go.
It's a local tradition.
Yeah.
They could make it. They could make it true urban flight. They just start it downtown and ride out towards.
There you go. Oh, too funny. So on the Peloton side of things, now what kind of classes do you take? What do you take? Like, do you ever get into Power Zone? Do you stick with the same
That's
instructor?
my favorite. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big Power Zone fan. I just like it because you could just, you totally individualize your workouts. And I've always been a big Matt Wilpers fan. Probably because, as my friends or even my wife thinks I'm nuts, but like I like the hour and a half ones or the hour one. Because then it's more like, especially in the winter. I mean, because I'm a lot more of a fair weather biker. I don't really like it when it gets too cold out, so I'm all through the winter doing those. And the longer ones I like the workout. So I'm a big Power Zone fan.
That's wonderful.
90 minutes. That's a lot.
Yeah.
I have mine in a room where there's a TV behind, so I'll be watching a basketball game or, doing some other. So I'm not focused the whole time, but, because, when they're like, all right, zone 3 for 12 minutes. Well, okay, I got to zone out of something to just sit there and pedal for 12 minutes. Puffing and puffing.
Well, you can't do that when you're outside. What do you do when you're outside?
Yeah, exactly. Well, then I've at least got some good scenery. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I'm a Wilpers fan. But really any of the Power Zone ones, though, I find myself drawn to those.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think it's probably obvious to people, but just in case it's not, you're an oncologist. So what kind of oncology do you practice?
Is that rough being always on call? I would think an oncologist would be difficult, just constant. When do you sleep?
There's no off-cologists. So.
Thank God we warned him.
I do. I'm a surgical oncologist. So and I specialize in upper gastrointestinal cancers. So pancreas and stomach cancer, tumors that have spread to the liver, which colon cancer and other GI cancers often do. And then I also take care of a lot of melanoma and skin cancer.
Wow. So
it's a good mix.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is. Oh.
So I'm always, whether it's me or my two redheaded blue-eyed kids, I have sunblock all the time. But I figure if I show up to work with a sunburn, it's like I've shown up, as a lung cancer doctor smoking cigarettes or something. It doesn't look good. So
yeah, you'd get called to the carpet real quick.
Yes,
how can we trust this guy?
Yeah. And then my sort of life is about 50% seeing patients and in the operating room, and the other half is doing research and working on the education side with our surgery residency program and our fellowship program and medical students. So it's a really nice mix of everything. The job's one that's fun and different every day.
I bet. Yeah. You don't hear a lot of doctors that get to be involved on the research side and, practice medicine in the field. Mm-hmm. So I bet that's really exciting. What a great mix.
It's exciting. And, there's definitely a very collegial kind of team science, team clinical aspect to oncology in general, but WashU and Siteman. And I think it's just kind of that Midwest vibe. It's just a really fun place to work. It's not kind of cutthroat, competitive, that sort of thing. It is a lot of fun, and there's just great people here.
Oh.
Well, you wouldn't want it to be cutthroat because everybody's got scalpels.
Exactly. Could be dangerous.
Yeah, it's a bad place. So when you were first considering this as a career field, were you always like, yeah, I could cut a guy open? Like, or is that something that you
That's a fair question.
that you got to work your way up to? I would think that I'd be like, even if I had the mindset to be a doctor, I'd be like, I don't know that I trust myself enough to cut a guy open. So when did that enter into your head of like, yes, I could not only cut him open, but then I could sew him back up? Because if I could probably do the cutting open. Like, I think that part's probably simple. It's the stuff that comes after.
Well, this will be a pop culture test. It was either going to be like Doogie Howser on one side or Dexter on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
That was about the skill set. No, I didn't quite know what I wanted to do when I was in college, in the sense that I was a chemistry major and a political science major. So I was like, okay, those are a little different. But I didn't know I wasn't quite sure what I wanted to go into until I got about halfway through college. And my mom, who's doing fine, was diagnosed with early breast cancer, and just got interested in the science side of it. And then started working in a research lab where a lot of the people in the lab were surgery residents. They were taking a couple of years off to do research. This was at the University of Michigan. And they, offered to take me into the operating room. And when I was just was captivated and enthralled, and that was sort of just hook, line, and sinker off in that direction. Because I really liked what they did in terms of how they help people, and but at the same time, I saw the challenges in the sense of they'd operate on a lot of people whose cancer would come back. So trying to better understand that, I really like the research side too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So that kind of is the perfect position for you then to be able to do both. Because, yeah, that's what got you both sides of that. Interesting.
And that's a great example. So I have my youngest son, well, your stepmom, but we'll count.
He's a bonus kid.
Yeah. Is a junior, and so he's thinking about college. And your story is kind of a perfect example of what I always tell him, which is not go be an oncologist because you don't want that kid cutting on you.
No.
But
where did I put the scalpel?
Yeah. No, that would be the problem. He'd be like, where did I put the thread? But I always tell him like have a goal, have an aspiration, but be prepared to pivot. There are so many jobs out there that you don't even know exist. So don't go after your dreams, but also realize that you might find something along the way that you like better, and don't define that as losing or not achieving your thing if something else, pulls you down a different path.
No, I mean, I think a good liberal arts education for most kids is probably the best thing that they can stumble into, because they find themselves. I mean, how many 18-year-olds, especially in this day and age, how many 18-year-olds really know what they want to do? And even if they do, like you said, that's just because they haven't been exposed to the thing that might be perfect for them. And I was definitely a product of that. Yeah. And there are a lot more, now it's very popular for people to take a quote gap year. And it may not be that they change careers, but they figure out a lot about themselves and life that makes them a little more successful into whatever they go into.
Yeah, very true.
We don't have the money for a gap year. We're more of an Old Navy year. That's more our jam. Your Doogie Howser Dexter analogy gave me a great idea. Hear me out.
Oh, no.
A serial killer who's a child prodigy. What?
There we go.
Come on.
I like it.
You would totally watch that show.
I would.
A 12-year-old killing people? Sign me up.
And if you could morph it into something that had a lot of 80s music and pop culture references.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Ryan, that is our speed right there.
Listen, as I understand it, Netflix is tanking, so I think they'll take any of these ideas.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. So now I'm curious, when you joined Peloton shortly before the pandemic, have you been exposed really to the classes that have a bunch of people in the studio? Do you have an opinion about the riders in studio versus the rider out of studio? This is a very Peloton generational thing.
Yeah, I mean, when I started out, I don't do a lot of live rides, so I'll tell you that I've probably done 10 total. I'm just always doing the recorded ones for whatever reason. So even the older ones that I do where there's people in the studio, I think about it a couple times. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Because there were a couple. What was his name? There was a professional cyclist who did a bunch of episodes a long time ago.
Christian Van Velde.
Van de Velde, yeah.
Van de Velde.
So I still like doing those a lot because they're fun rides. And when I'm doing them, I'm like, oh, look at all the people in the background. And then for the first time in 2 years, my wife and I were back in New York City. This was just a month ago, a couple weeks ago. And we were like, oh, we should stop by the Peloton studio and see if we if there's somebody in the window or we see somebody walking in. So I don't love them either way. One way or the other, I only think about it briefly. But
okay.
It'll be nice when they get back into it. I've always wondered if they were going to branch out into other cities and open a Peloton studio in St. Louis. Or something.
Yeah, right.
Well, they sure wouldn't pick here.
No,
I'll
they
tell
wouldn't.
You that.
If they were going to do another one, it would in the U.S. It would probably be on the West Coast. But
I was say San Francisco or something.
They have fought that for years. People have been begging for that, and they have always said no. So we shall see how things go. Because there's a new CEO, but I can guarantee you, it will not be here.
Not going to be St. Louis.
No, it will not.
I think Paducah has a better shot than St. Louis.
Well, they probably had a store before we did, to be honest. But I'm curious, if you went by the studio. So does that mean that if you had been there when the studio was open, would you have went in and taken a live class?
I probably would have if especially if my wife wanted to do it. We're like, hey, let's just do it for that, for the heck of it. It would have been fun. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. For us Midwesterners, it's like a tourist thing, right?
Exactly. Yes. Yep.
That's fun.
People love to make their journeys there.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were just there a couple weeks ago as well. And I was shocked to see that they had bodyguards outside now. There's big security guys. And then
there's celebrities. Yeah, I believe it.
I mean, I know. But like there were security guards at the door. Like that never used to be a thing. And now there's security guards walking them to their car. Like that didn't used to be a thing. So it's an interesting time. What an evolution.
Right? No, and then there are some things on Peloton that I bought it and my wife and I bought it and I said, oh, yep, I'm going to use this as a bike. And then I actually have been shocked. Like I've gotten, and never did it before, I've gotten really into yoga. So I do a lot of the yogas, especially after a long day, in the operating room, where you're just, if you had a personal trainer or somebody or anybody who had anything to do with posture or whatever, and they saw the way we stand for long periods of time, they'd be like, yeah, you probably need an adjustment or chiropractor or something. So
I would think you're tight too.
Because you got to hold everything and the stress.
You're tight, you're cramped. Yeah, it's just and I am not a flexible person by nature, and I've never been a stretcher in the sense of like, well, I'm gonna warm up and then stretch and then go for a run. It was just like, no, open the door and go. And then not probably do what I should have been doing afterwards. But I've really gotten to appreciate doing yoga. I don't think I'd ever do yoga in a group because I probably look so ridiculous, but I don't mind doing it with the door closed, like in my office at the end of the day or at home, with the door closed too.
That's
but
funny.
I love it.
Well, do you have like a favored yoga instructor that you go to? That's your go-to?
I like Aditi Shah because I like there's a good mix of kind of the beginner intermediate ones, and she doesn't make you feel guilty about not being able to do some of the parts. And then I tend to like those yoga flow classes, so I've fallen into a lot of those ones.
Yeah, I feel like my go-to for yoga when I don't feel like I know what I'm doing is Chelsea, because she's so like, I don't know. She has this like tone to her voice. It's just like, it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I realize you can't even bend over half as far as I'm bending, but just concentrate on doing it so it feels good, or till it starts to not feel good.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, do you have any advice for people that are just getting a Peloton?
Yeah, I think try a little bit of everything, or I like a lot of the intro courses and things like that, basically the how-tos. I, was riding a road bike before, so I had a sense of some of it. And I think like, as we were talking earlier, I really, really like the Power Zone courses, because I think, whether you're, 85 years old and just getting onto a Peloton, or 10 years old, 20 years old, whatever it is, getting out of, and you're an Olympic cyclist, you can do a Power Zone ride with the same effort for yourself. So I really like those. But people seem intimidated by them a little bit, because I got to take this fitness test, and then what in the world do I do? What's my? No, it's a lot simpler than that. And if you like the other things, if you do the intro thing, you're like, okay, I get it.
Well, people are also scared of those 90-minute classes you were talking about. They're scared of the 60-minute classes too.
Ones, yes.
You have to realize there's been an evolution with the platform, because back in the day, whenever they started, almost all of their rides were 45 minutes. I mean, across the board, everything was 45 minutes. There were no warm-up classes. There were no cool-down classes. And so then people started asking for longer and longer classes. So they got the 60 and they got the 90. But at the same time, Peloton saw from their data, people really enjoyed shorter classes. So then you started having all these 20 and 30-minute classes. So you have like these two like groups of people that are like, well, I want longer, which is more like what you're saying from a fitness. You like to do your Power Zone. You have that kind of thought process. But then on the other hand, you have all these people who are like, I only have 20 minutes to get a good workout in today, or whatever their lifestyle is. And so they're kind of very at odds with each other. And I think that's why people are scared of it. It's just the unknown. They have never tried the other side, whatever their side is.
Oh, and I have a group of high school friends that we all stay in touch, and there's probably about 12 of us, I think, and 8 of us have Pelotons. But of the 8, 4 of them, they just do it for the music. They love the music. They like particular instructors. It doesn't matter if it's 20 minutes or 60 minutes. They're doing that one on that day because of the music.
Yeah.
Yep, and a couple friends who I can't remember what's her Jenn Sherman, who does the pre-football rides.
Yep.
Well, they're on every Sunday morning before football to listen to Jenn and what she has to say about the games. And I think she wears a Jets jersey or something that a couple of my friends were always making fun of her about. But
yeah, and also
so
those are some of those are also surprisingly hard rides to do too, because she goes all out. Like those are, and then she has a halftime at the middle, and yeah, those are some of the roughest rides I've ever done. They're intense.
Yeah. Oh, and I do like some of the rides. Like I like some of the Hidden Hills rides. I like doing some of those Tabata rides. And like you said, I mean, then you're like about to fall off your bike, exhausted.
Yes.
And the Power Zone, you can do. That's the other thing I like about Power. You can do the Power Zone, the Power Zone Max, the Power Zone Endurance ones, and get a little bit of all that.
Yeah, and that's the best way to do it. Yeah, that's a good variety.
I have a rower, and I've always wondered if they'll ever get into their next sort of thing. They got the treadmill, they got the bike.
It's dropping. It's literally dropping on May 13th. So
yeah, like it will probably be announced before this airs.
Yeah, it probably will. Yeah, it should be announced on homecoming. So you should be able to hear all the details about that very soon.
Awesome. I think it's kind of what they're getting into probably is just what we're talking about is just it's a good variety of things you can do on the Peloton, on or off the bike, on or off the treadmill, the yoga stuff. It's a good way to stay interested, I think.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Before we let you go, let everybody know where they can find you if you would like to be found and how they can help pedal the cause, especially because I'd say somewhere between 96 to 99% of our listeners aren't in St. Louis. So, maybe a way for them to help if they're not local.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the cool thing about Pedal the Cause is there's all these teams, and most of the teams, of course, are people that are going to be riding or participating here in St. Louis. But a lot of the team members are really working with friends and family and networks around the country to help raise awareness, help raise money. So, of course, everybody would say, well, the best thing you could do is, come here and ride and join my team. The second best thing you could do is, support the team, support our ride by, writing a check or helping us out in that way. But I think an equally important thing is just to be involved in something that you're passionate about that's going to help people in your neck of the woods. And whether that's your local cancer center, your local community organization, these are all things that, especially on the cancer side, there's so many ways to help people, whether it's contributing to research, whether it's helping with awareness and education, or whether it's just really trying to support people who may need a little extra assistance getting to and from doctor's visits and things like that. We've had people start some incredible things in their neck of the woods.
Awesome. And since Crystal, you'll be participating, they can help you.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I'm on Terry Grieg's team, so it's powered by Hope, and people can join. And I'll be posting my link to let people know how they can fundraise. And I'll be out there doing one of the rides. We'll see if I do the 50 miles. That's what I have in my head, but. We'll see. It's April. We'll see how I feel about that as we get closer to September.
Yeah. And I've worked closely with a family here that started a nonprofit to raise both money for research, but also awareness for melanoma. It's called Our Mark on Melanoma, or Our Mom. It's a group of kids, 8 siblings whose mom passed away of melanoma, and they've been very involved. So that's the team that I'm my captain, and it's been an honor to work with them. So they do everything from trying to teach kids about the horrible side of tanning beds and skin cancer risk at the kind of more teenage years, and then all through trying to raise money for research. So,
that's wonderful. Wonderful that they do that. So,
absolutely.
And thank you for being so involved. Thank you for taking the time to do this and teaching us so much about what you do every day and just how the whole process works. We really appreciate it.
Awesome. No, thank you guys for having me, and look forward to hopefully seeing you at Pedal this year and being involved. It was great to connect.
Thank you.
The Clip Out.
So I guess that brings this episode to a close. Until next week, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/Crystal D. O'Keefe. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and anywhere on the Peloton leaderboard at Clip Out Crystal.
And you can find me on Twitter at Roger Kubert or on Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. Find the show online, facebook.com/The Clip Out. And if you've made it this far, maybe leave us a review. You must really like us.
Yeah.
This is very deep into the show. So thank you for being here. You should go leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts. And also don't forget, you can find us on YouTube at youtube.com/The Clip Out. So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time, keep pedaling.
And running.
Clip in, set yourself free.